Times and as many papers as we can touch this morning. Our first headline from the Daily Post newspaper: Lagos remains proud of Sanwo-Olu's achievements. APC knocks PDP. We don't need Senate reps, Shekarau tells Tinubu. Fuel subsidy, commuters groan as fare skyrockets in Abuja. Some more stories from the Daily Post newspaper right here. Fuel subsidy as well. Federal government NLC meeting ends in deadlock. And ASR Africa launches tech-based mentorship program for girls in tertiary institution. NSCDC rescues 25-year-old woman allegedly locked for years in Jigawa. Hope Uzodinma elected PGF chairman by APC governors. Varsity Dawn calls for establishment of spiritual pastoral care units in hospitals. Jigawa Namadi appoints SSG chief of staff. Others. Some more stories. Nigerian Air. People have been insulting me over my comments. This is coming from the Reverend Kelvin. He's crying out about that one. Alleged blasphemy. Sharia court orders arrest of embattled Bauchi Imam Abdulaziz. Kidnappers kill So Safe officer. 2 others abduct farm workers in Ogun. EFCC's office setback. Withdraws amended charges in case against Kano senatorial candidate. Makinde announces new appointments in Oyo. And we'll just take a couple more stories before we move to another paper. Don't create artificial scarcity. Akeredolu wants Ondo petrol marketers. We move to the entertainment corner for a bit. Why I divorced my husband of 25 years, actress Shafi Bello. I was shocked to win AMVCA, Bibi Niger's beauty to Kura. And the final one here says right here, Abiodun meets Ogun workers, reiterates administration's commitment to their welfare.
All right, from the Premium Times newspaper, how MDAs diverted billions of naira under Buhari administration Senate panel. There's a major one there from the Premium Times. Peter Obi seeks adjournment of petition against Tinubu. NMPCL increases petrol and pump price nationwide. Scorecard, how Buhari's anti-corruption war switched from fighting to encouraging corruption. Tinubu assumes duty at Asirok Presidential Villa. Another headline there. Nigerians lament as motorists hike transport fares amid fuel scarcity. Shettima assumes office, rallies support for new administration. Another headline from the Premium Times. We'll take a couple more before we move to another paper. 2 PDP senators resigned from party. Profile, Nnamdi finance expert who made Jigawa least indebted state, sworn in as governor. Exclusive one. Imo governor Hope Uzodinma emerges APC Governors Forum chairman. Aircraft carrying Jigawa pilgrims makes emergency landing in Kano after lightning strike. Why we dump PDP senators, APC women leaders, others kidnapped on Kaduna Highway. Those are the stories out of the Premium Times newspaper this morning.
All right, from the Punch newspaper, NAP tips sacks 5 for corruption. Leaking information. Some more stories here. Unexplained weight loss may be a sign of underlying ailment. This is from the experts and, of course, from the health corner. Lagos police dismissed sergeant for extorting 98,000 naira from man. And some more stories. Federal government Labour meeting deadlocked as fuel price hits over 700 naira per litre. CBN multiple exchange rate may increase debt burden, World Bank. We're still on the Punch newspaper. Ways to utilize virtual assistants. This is an editorial. And some more stories says kidnappers killed 2, abduct others in Ogun farm raid. Manager in court for defrauding employer 40 million naira. Jigawa man arrested for locking daughter up for years. NSIC begins probe as aircraft skids off Lagos runway. Everyone thinks I'm Osime, says Napoli strikers look alike. And that's on the sports side. Lagos residents protest road conversion to market. Akinyelure, Edo Senator dump PDP, alleged internal crisis. Some more stories. APC chair working against zoning arrangements. Lukuman alleges CBN multiple exchange rates. I think I've taken that before. Revamp economy. Cut waste, Bishop tells Tinubu. Brazil ex-leader jailed for corruption. Prepare for defeat. ANPP governorship candidate tells Uzodinma. And some more stories. Suspected causes kill 6 in Rivers community. Lagos proud of Sanwo-Olu's achievements. APC tells PDP. Rahim parties to adopt final written addresses July 13. And lawyers hopeful of speedy justice delivery in new era. Avoid policies that will deepen poverty, NEF tells Tinubu.
All right, from the Daily Trust, subsidy removal, why we are in very difficult moment. Again, we are in very difficult moment. Abdullahi Adamu, exclusive one from the Daily Trust this morning, has this one. CBN devalues Naira to 630 per dollar. Elsewhere, thunder strikes 5-year-old boy to death in Katsina. Man seeks divorce over wife's plan to elope with clergyman. Girl missing after leaving home for errand in Kwara. Subsidy removal, food prices, transport fares soar is another headline from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. We try to take a couple more. An open letter to President Bola Tinubu. Aregbesola champions easier path to naturalization. Responds to different write-ups seeking to tarnish my image is another headline from the Daily Trust. All right, some more here. After failed Senate re-election bid, Public Accounts Committee Chair dumps PDP. Federation Cup semi-final battles hold today in Ijebu-Ode, Lagos. Dangote to build Sugar Research Center at Nsuk. Tribunal admits Atiku's Beavers documents, result sheets, and lastly, 42 kids to compete for table tennis prize in Calabar.
We'll take a look at the Nation newspaper. National Honours awardees to wait. Hearing in LP. Obese petitions stalled. PDP forges ahead. Senate and PAN pay tributes to media magnate Dokpesi. PDP senators Akinyelure dump party. And we move to some more stories from the Nation. Tinubu's promises to improve economy excite young entrepreneurs. 200 reps backing me, says Abbas. There's a rider that says Lukman slams party, Chair Adamu. NNPCL fixes 488 to 557 per litre petrol price template. There are riders that says price to fluctuate in accordance with marketers' forms. NLC-TUC demands return to old price. Government negotiations continues. And some more stories from the Nation newspaper. This one here says Uzodinma elected progressive governor's chair. 200 reps. Okay, I've taken that before. Sudan Army suspends participation in Jeddah ceasefire. And some more stories. Hearing in LP, obese petition stalled. And this one also says how PDP can expel Wike by court. And some more stories. Does Sanwo-Olu truly care? That's an editorial from the Nation newspaper. Sporadic shooting rocks parts of Ibadan. APC governor-elect Uzodinma chairman Progressive Governors Forum. And we'll just take a couple more before we go on our first commercial break. Nothing will strain my relationship with Wike Fubara. Federal government meets NLC-TUC over fuel subsidy. Just in, APC governors NWC in crucial meeting. We'll go on our first break now. When we return, we'll be back with the analysis. Do stay with us.
Stay tuned to 32 FM 94.9.
Naija people, we dey yarn better tori abeg.
Man like Osimhen, Baba just dey chop Italian league like Oha. Chelsea want am, Man you dey wait, even Mourinho dey hate. Come off it.
No one tells a story like we do. Stream live football, local and international shows on Showmax, Africa's original streaming service. Sign up at showmax.com.
This is what it sounds like when you mindless munch away at your snacks. Boring, dull, routine snacking. And this is what it sounds like when snacking is loud, proud, gooey, chewy, playful, joyful, and all-round fun. Because when joyless snacking attacks, we'll be there to fight back. Snack out loud with Fanta.
Hours with God. Friday night.
June. Àkórí tí Ọlọ́run fún òní rẹ̀. Prophet Taiwo Òjó bàbá ìsọjí orí afẹ́fẹ́. Help from above. Ìrànlọ́wọ́ látòkè. Ọjọ́ tó o bá ti ní ìrànlọ́wọ́ látòkè gbà. Ìlàkàkà dọ́pẹ́ gbà bẹ́ẹ̀. Nínú pàdé àdúrà yìí. Fèrè sí ọ̀run pẹ̀lú ilẹ̀kùn ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ ọjọ́ pípẹ́ máa ṣí. Nípasẹ̀ ìfàmì òrùnyàn Ọlọ́run aláyè lórí àwọn ìránṣẹ́. Àwọn olórin ẹ̀mí Bùkọ́lá kí Adéṣẹ́wọlé Jésù. Bísí Aláwìyé Àlùkò. Ìlàjà akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ Ọlọ́run sọ́bẹ̀. Gbẹ̀ngà Adénúgà. Bridget Adénúbí. Àtinúkẹ̀rí Májẹ̀mú. Prophet Taiwo Òjó bàbá ìsọjí orí afẹ́fẹ́ máa sọ tẹ́lẹ̀. Bàbá ti wọnú àdúrà lọ́jọ́ Friday náà. Ìdájí lọ́jọ́ Monday 12 la máa ṣorí ọ̀fẹ́ o. Láti ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun tàbí Ìbàdàn. Ọ̀sẹ̀ ìjẹ́rẹ̀ ni ẹ máa bọ̀ Mẹ́síkà. Ẹkùnrẹ́rẹ́ àlàyé ẹ máa pè 090-20-113558. Our people dey always talk say to get money, person must to work with your body. But since star 73342 hash with Glow don enter the matter, na only your hand you need to win instant money on Green Lotto with your Glow SIM. Yes, so just dial star 73342 hash on your Glow line to buy Green Lotto tickets with your airtime. Play your favorite games, check your results, and get your winnings as airtime or direct transfer to your bank account. Because instant money don dey your hands, yo. Glow Unlimited.
Ìfẹ́ tí kò lábàwọ́n ni ìfẹ́ ìyá jẹ́. Bẹ́ẹ̀ kò sí ohun tó dùn tó bíi Indomie alájẹpọnu lákànlọ́. Nítorí náà, fi ìfẹ́ hàn pẹ̀lú Indomie.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
All right, thank you for staying with us. It is 32 FM 949 Ibadan, the Break of Dawn Papers Review. I am DENIKE Ademuago.
And I'm Kenny Durusulu. Professor Lord Jedukum joins us this morning. Good morning, Prof. It's great to have you with us this morning. All right.
Thank you. All right, Prof, let's start off with our first story here. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited announced a new pump price for petroleum products at its stations nationwide. It was also reported yesterday that the NLC and the TUC met with representatives of the federal government at the conference hall of the Office of the Chief of Staff, Abuja, to discuss some terms. Now, speculatively speaking, what can come out of this NLC intercession? Because the issue on ground, the removal of subsidy, the pump price currently in Oyo State is fixed at, is supposed to be fixed at 500 naira, and we doubt that there's going to be a shift. So, new pump prices have taken effect. What can the NLC change?
Well, I think what NLC can constructively do is to pursue the question of palliatives. What has been put in place to ensure that the effects of inflation, the effects of the rise of price are cushioned, and that people, you understand, don't go through sorrow, tears, and I'm not going to mention the last word. So I think they can arrive at some kind of compromise.
They are asking that the old prices should be restored.
No, that's not going to happen. No. I think NSC knows it's not going to happen. I think NSC has been prepared for this. I think what they find irksome, what they find worrying, is the fact that there were no sort of palliatives or nothing put in place before that announcement was made. But my own view is that the President and Commander-in-Chief had to make some quick decisions, and it was a fait accompli. In other words, the previous administration had made it quite clear by their budgetary approvals or appropriation act that there was no provision monetary-wise. Apart from that, does NLC realize that the past 3 months or thereabouts, the federal government still has not paid the NNPC, for the so-called subsidy? They're still owing the NNPC. And the reason why is because the cupboard is bare. So I think if NLC realizes that the cupboard is bare, they might adjust their approach and the way they want to handle this.
Prof, but what happens to the speculations that subsidy had been catered for until June ending and we're supposed to start subsidy proper in July? Some people are also speculating that it means that this is just preamble. We are still going to have another pump price and we're probably going to about 700.
if it is indeed true that the reality is that the approval was up to the end of June, then of course NNPC would have appeared to have pulled the first one. And if that's the case, of course, you would expect, them to revert. But having said that, let's just talk about 4 weeks. But 4 weeks of misery, 4 weeks of suffering, and 4 weeks of hyperinflation. If the situation is not addressed. But I'm still puzzled, and I think the federal government owes us an explanation as to why it was the end of 31st of last month instead of the end of this month. I think proper explanation is owed to the Nigerian people.
Let's talk about how much, of course, how all of this is going to affect everybody. Like you mentioned palliatives and the fact that are we going to have a situation of what happened during COVID and palliatives were hidden and found in various warehouses. How are we going to, as a people, survive in this time, from the motorists to the people selling peppers on the streets? What do you think is the way forward now? Because I don't think that increasing salaries are visible or feasible right now.
First and foremost, let's be very clear. This is a new administration. This is the administration of Ahmed Bola Tinubu. It's quite different from the previous one. And so we expect them to tackle things differently. Well, palliatives is not always about increasing salaries. In the past, we used to have fuel vouchers. In the past, we used to have meal vouchers, and so on and so forth. And I expect the government to be very creative. In other words, you may not have an increase in salary, but you might have vouchers to cover for essentials and basic needs. In other words, that dampens down inflation, because the increase of salaries itself only further fuels inflation. And I think there are some other policies that the government is looking at, which I don't already know. But what I know for sure is that there will be provision made, for people, to be cushioned. You asked me for the specifics. Because I don't know, I haven't seen the books, because I'm not in office, I can only speculate. And the speculation is that governments will find an alternative means other than simple money. It might be even releasing grains from the strategic reserve to cushion prices and to make sure that food inflation is not the order of the day.
All right, we'll take another headline now. How MDAs diverted billions of naira under Buhari administration Senate panel. That's a report out of the Premium Times newspaper this morning. We understand that hundreds of billions of naira were dispersed to some MDAs for the purpose of salary shortfalls, despite the fact that those funds had already been catered for in the budget and all of that. Curbing the excesses, corruption within the MDAs. That's the thing now. Apparently that was during the last administration and all of that. Now it's a new administration now. How do you see that, corruption within, that space is actually curtailed, Prof?
First and foremost, some people are responsible for this diversion of funds or for this misappropriation of funds. And if some people are responsible, then you would expect, what do we call them? You would expect the EFCC or the ICPC to do their job. And part of doing their job is not just prosecuting them, but also recovering the amounts of money that have been stolen, if that is the case. So I think that curbs it. When people, there are consequences, when people are punished, when money is recouped and restored back to the treasury, then people will begin to sit up and know they can't get away with it. But as far as people continue to get away with it, more people will continue to indulge in this kind of activities, and it will continue to go on. But it is quite a disgrace that up till now, I'm one of the people why people are getting angry and are getting cross with the government, unjustifiably or justifiably, as the case might be. They are saying they haven't indicated they're going to cut the size of government. Pensions of people, including the president, you understand, are still quite humongous and enormous. There's no indication that anything is happening to their pensions, giving it away, ensuring that government is going to be leaner, fitter, and meaner. In other words, if we are all in it together, government needs to show we are all in it together, not just the masses of this country.
And it's not a case of pointing fingers now, because going by the reports we're seeing in the papers now, some people are pointing fingers at the last administration, the Buhari government. This is what happened under your administration and all of that. Is it a case of pointing fingers or actually going to the root of the problem and actually attacking it from there?
Well, I think going to the root of the problem helps, but you point fingers so that some people are held responsible and so that some people are punished. But also you must go to the root of the problem, which is what allows people to be in such a position that it can actually embezzle such or cause such problems to the Nigerian people? Is it because of incompetence, or is it just simply because the right people have not been put there? And all those things need to be explored. We can't keep on going a merry-go-round like this. We've been doing that since 1960. And if we are going to progress as a nation, we have to find a way forward. And some people would argue that maybe we need to restructure the whole shebang. If we restructure it, maybe there will be less money available for people to pilfer, to steal, and to mismanage.
All right, let's talk about this headline. Obi narrates identity duplication drama in the UK. Says it started from Nigeria, and he said that he made the disclosure on a Twitter space organized by a particular media outfit. He talked about the fact that the duplication crisis started in Nigeria and how he was shocked about the process. I don't know if you, of course, encountered that story. Do you think the narration of events in this particular news pretty much put the story to rest a little bit?
Well, I don't know that it puts the story to rest, because I thought it was innocuous, the whole identity duplication thing. I thought it was something that happened. It's happened to somebody close to me before, where they were detained for a while, not for a long time, or invited for an interview. And the interview, they just asked them a few questions, and they were able to put to bed the duplication or the identity duplication issue. So I think normally you should put it to bed, but there's so much conspiracy theories going on in Nigeria. We're still in the heat of the after-election aftermath, where some people are actually asking some key questions about even Peter Obi himself. So yes, he said it, he's explained it, and I think that should be a normal explanation which people can interrogate or accept. But I think people's focus and minds on worse things, on other things, other things.
All right, from the Punch newspaper, Kiabo, that's the chief spokesman of the All Progressive Congress, he's come out to say that President Bola Tinubu did not remove fuel subsidy. According to him, media reports are mischievously twisting the narrative to read that Tinubu's government has removed subsidy and all of that. He basically said this yesterday in a statement. And yes, that's the situation. Prof, your take on this one, who removes subsidies? Is that what you're talking about, whether it's one person or the other?
Firstly, I didn't know that Kayama was still speaking for the government. I thought he was speaking for the campaign. But if he signed it, so that we have to accept that is what he's doing. No, budgetary implications. All these things cost money. Remember that since the beginning of this year, we spent about 3 trillion in terms of subsidy. This has to be catered for, appropriated. The federal government cannot just spend the money. In other words, it has to be part of a budget. And of course, it was part of the budget, and part of the budget budgeted for up till, I think, the end of June or something like that. So obviously, if that is the case, you understand, and the government says there will be nothing more after because it's not budgeted for, you can't necessarily say it's the Tinubu government. They're just affirming what the previous government did. In fact, people say that government is to continue. So they're affirming what the previous government did, and what they're saying is that will continue. I think the question, which is what DENIKE raised earlier, was that we all thought that it was end of June, and now it is end of May. And if it is end of May, then people would argue that it's not necessarily the Buhari government, but this Tinubu government, since, you understand, there's a month gap, as it were.
The Zamfara State Coordinator of the Tinubu Shetima Presidential Campaign Council, Senator Kabir Marafa, has assured that the efforts of all the persons who worked for the victory of President Bola Tinubu in the February 25 election will not be in vain, because Tinubu has promised to change the reward system. Now, I don't know, what kind of reward system do you think has been set up here for the people who worked for this current administration? Are we talking about contracts? Are we talking about political offices? Are we talking about promises of you will definitely be a governor here, a senator here, and all of that? What kind of reward system do you think has been organized here?
Yes, I mean, it's strange that it says everybody will be rewarded, because that's impossible. But usually it's about board appointments, it's about ministerial appointments, it's about, and sometimes it's about contracts. Let's just admit that. But the country is not even that buoyant anyway, so I don't know the amount of contracts that will be offered or issued. And contracts should be based on competence, not just based on loyalty. So I guess you have to calm down the restive supporters, those that have supported the key people, and to tell them that, there is hope and that something will come your way. But for him to overpromise, and under-deliver could actually mean quite something else for the so-called supporters. I think we should stop this politics of patronage. I think we want politics that delivers for the people in terms of education, that delivers in terms of health, infrastructure, security, economy, and of course, global affairs. That's what we want. In fact, that would be more satisfying to the supporters of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
All right. President Bola Tinubu has said Nigeria is open for business and constructive partnerships. The president spoke while hosting the president of China, Xi Jinping, yesterday at the presidential villa. Constructive partnerships is something that we definitely need, going by our debt profile and all of that. These are some of the things that you'd expect a president to start looking into at this time.
Yeah, what happened under the Buhari administration was that we lost a lot in terms of foreign direct investment. And foreign direct investment is the lifeblood of any economy. If people are not bringing in money, you understand, to come and invest there, then your economy contracts. And your economy has little opportunity to innovate and to go to the next level. So, of course, we must send this message to the foreign investors and to other countries such as China. China is number 2 or thereabout, if not possibly number 1, in terms of global investment, in terms of bringing investment to various countries. So they are key and they're quite strategic. And I think the message is very clear that Nigeria will do everything. And for us to do everything to attract them, we have to ensure that there's security, we have to ensure there's stability, we have to ensure there's transparency, accountability. Those are the kind of things that foreign investors like. They want certainty that they will get their profits within a period of time, not a long period of time, but a short period of time. One of the problems that hinders them coming here is that, a lot of the airlines, their money, which is supposed to be transferred to them in dollars and foreign currency, is still held up in naira. And being held up in naira does really absolutely nothing for them. They don't spend it in this country, they spend it abroad. So they need their monies and they need it in pounds. So it will be music to their ear, that the president is saying this, and they will look forward to see the president actually actualizing it in his policies.
Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State on Wednesday warned petroleum marketers as well as owners of fuel stations in the state against hoarding premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol. I think for the most part of it, would you say that Nigerians would rather have it available? I don't think we want it. We don't want the petrol hoarded. We'll rather want it available, even though it's expensive. Would you agree to that submission?
Yeah, maybe the super rich will want that, but I think the average masses don't want that at all because of the implication it has, the knock-on effect that it would obviously have on prices, long-term and even near-term. I also think the whole idea is that a lot of these stocks, I honestly trying to understand what NNPC is doing, from that point of view. Normally, the hoarding would have been the order of the day because the new prices are not supposed to come into effect, we thought, you understand, in end of June. So that's what Akeredolu said would have been relevant. But if NNPC is now saying that it is now, you understand, then we cannot accuse them of price inflation or especially if it's within the template of NNPC. So I have to ask NNPC the question, did they take a cue from what is going on the streets and decided to reflect it now? Is NNPC trying to cash in, you understand, on the suffering, on the back of the suffering of people? I have to ask the question because the impression we had was that it was going to be the end of June. Now we're having end of May. So somebody is making 1 month of humongous amounts of money off someone, from that point of view. And I think the government needs to clarify it and address it because it's 1 month of suffering. For some people it might be nothing, but for some of us it is something, and the repercussions go beyond the 1 month, of course.
All right, we have to go on a break. When we return, we'll open the phone lines to take your reactions on any of the stories. Do stay with us.
FM 94.9.
I will lift up mine eyes to the hills. My help comes from the Lord. Experience God's mighty power, working miracles, transforming lives and destinies through His anointed servant, Prophet Taiwojo, at 72 Hours with God from Friday 9th to Sunday 11th of June. Theme, Help from Above. Join us with your loved ones to receive the help you need from God. Every struggle and sorrow shall be terminated by God's supernatural presence and power at Mercy Camp Osengiri Ibadan from Friday 9th to Sunday 11th of June. Ministering Prophet Taiwojo and other anointed ministers Ministers of God. Music ministrations by Bukola Akinade Shawele Jesu, Bisi Alawiye Aluko, Elijah Akintude Olorun Sobe, Benga Adenuga, Bridget Adenubi, Atinuke Eri Majemo, and many others. Please note, we shall be rounding off early Monday morning. For more information, please call 0902 011 3558. 72 hours with God. Come, don't miss it.
This is what it sounds like when you mindlessly munch away at your snacks. Boring, dull, routine snacking. And this is what it sounds like when snacking is loud, proud, gooey, chewy, playful, joyful, and all-round fun. Because when joyless snacking attacks, we'll be there to fight back. Snack out loud with Fanta.
Naija people with the yarn better tori abeg.
Bruh, come on there. Size no matter. The biggest dragon for Westeros, then small pikin face am, climb am, ride am like Formula 1. Fear catch me.
I didn't tell you. No one tells a story like we do. Watch House of the Dragon and other local shows on Showmax, Africa's original streaming service. Sign up at showmax.com.
32 gladiators embarked on a quest to become Europe's finest. Many ran after steam, others fell to the sword. Only one team can cross the gates into Istanbul, where the treasure lies. And only one can be crowned champions of Europe.
And they're toying with them. Bernardo Silva, yeah! You don't say that one!
Will Pep Guardiola and the citizens finally bring home the much-coveted Champions League trophy, or will the Nerazzurris repeat the heroics of 2010? It's the UEFA Champions League Final 2023, and 32 FM 94.9 will bring pictures, unbeatable commentaries, and quality analysis from Istanbul to Ibadan. Live at the Racecourse Amphitheatre at Damasinga on the 10th of June 2023. There will be side attractions starting off from 12 noon, which will set the tone for Europe's biggest club competition final between Manchester City and Inter Milan. Games like snooker, table tennis, ludo, ayolokmo, chess, Scrabble, and many more will be available for your pleasure. There will be VIP seats. For reservations or sponsorship inquiries, please call 0703 476 7684 or 0703 602 1608. This event is proudly sponsored by Imperial Blue and powered by your Joy Station 32 FM 949. Champions League final in Ibadan. Don't be left out. This event is absolutely free.
32 FM 94.9.
All right, 0705 5949, 029 7949. Those are the numbers to join the conversation on the Break It Down paper review this morning on 32 FM. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, I'm John Joseph. Thank you, Professor Gwedoku. One of the news read today says how Buhari anti-corruption war encourages corruption. And I agree with it, and I've described the Buhari's war against corruption as the silliest joke in the Nigerian entire history. What do I mean? It's a fact that the chairman of the ruling party, Ken Shiomole, told the world that anyone with past sins who joins the party APC will have his sins forgiven. Senator Danjuma Goje, simply because he respected the party's decision and stepped down for Lawan to emerge as Senate president, had his charges subsequently dropped at the Federal High Court judge and tried to go and sin no more. In 2018, Senator Shifu Sani, a member of the ruling party then, accused the ruling party APC of using incentives as against suspected corruption people in the opposition party and deodorant for those in the present camp. John, who's on Joko, and my name, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We're live on Facebook, 32FM 949 Ibadan, and you can go on there to drop your comments. Our numbers 0705 5000 949 and 0809 7000 949. We have some comments here. Isiaka Adewale Kazim says, good morning. The government should not bother to increase salary, but it should control price of commodity.
Hello, good morning. All right, just try and call back. More.
Prof, what do you think about this comment? The government should not bother to increase salary, but should control the price of commodities.
How do they control it? It's a free market. It's going to be very difficult to control it. We are not in the military era. We tried it during the Senko regime of Mohamed Buhari and it wasn't successful. So it's going to be almost impossible. But I think what the government can do is to release from the strategic reserves, ensure that the market is flooded to a certain extent, and ensure that there's food security. Because if there's more food available, then of course it has an impact on the price. But I understand his sentiment and I share it.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, everyone in the studio.
Good morning.
This is John Olaruwaju from Magdo. On the issue of fuel, to me, it's not come as a surprise because the president has already said when he's campaigning that he's going to remove the subsidy. And then what is amazed the people was that he quickly did that because he told the people, I think day before yesterday, that the president wasn't do it on, it's not that he's going to remove it quickly. But he surprised to us as in Nigeria that yesterday, the NFPCA now came out and rolled out the price, the normal price that every filling station will be selling. Now, people that are now blaming the filling stations, I think they need not to blame the filling station. No. He said they need to blame the federal government. Okay. Because these people know very well what they are going to do. They will just deceiving Nigerians. So it's we Nigeria that we need to understand the government that this government of APC cannot tell you the truth. So we in Nigeria are supposed to understand. If you don't understand it, we just fight unnecessary fighting.
All right. Thank you very much.
I think I'm missing a trick here. If there's no subsidy and it's supposed to be free market, floating and that sort of thing, why do we then need the NMPC, you understand, to give us some price that this is what is sold by? Is there still something going on that I don't understand?
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning, DENIKE. Good morning. Prof, good morning.
Good morning.
There's actually something I just want us to look at concerning this fuel price. I actually looked at something, Prof. Subsidy was removed from kerosene. When it was removed, it was about 607. Now, it's roughly about 1,200 liters. Diesel have never gone below 1,000. Now, this has been removed. I actually want Nigerians to brace up. This is not doom. This is not a prophecy of doom. And let's just brace up and look for now. I was happy the president in his speech said subsidy is gone. This is actually what will help us. We owe good luck an apology, particularly Adam Soshomole and his group, because this was what good luck actually shouted then. I wonder what he will now say going into the Senate. I actually feel Nigerians should just brace up. For now, I don't see it coming. Like DENIKE said, petrol might end up going to 700-800, which was actually what the former government projected. So I hope, let's look for what to do. I don't know. I have a little faith on this president. I don't know. I have faith on him. So I probably see things changing. Good morning. It's okay.
All right. Good morning.
Thank you very
Prof,
much.
Do you agree that apologies, especially the part about apologies to...
No, I think the circumstances were different. I think the times were different. Even the president then, Asiwaju Tinubu, was against subsidy removal. Things were different then. It was of a sustainable era. Right. The amounts concerned were very little compared to what we have. But there were some people who felt that this day will come. So I think it was difficult for people to foresee it then. Right. So apology, I'm not so sure.
All right. Hello.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you.
Yeah, this is Binga Mario calling from Apata. On the subsidy removal, I think it is good, but the timing is wrong. The timing is wrong. The government should have put some policy in motion before removing the subsidy. Now, I'm on the way going to the office now. Come and see people at the express road, stranded. Some are saying they could not even afford the fare to their various offices. And the thing is fighting very, very hard. I hope the president finds something to do to cushion the effect of the subsidy removal. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Very much on Facebook. Okay, Prof, you have something
to
share.
We heard him. What he's saying is that actually palliative should have been in place before subsidy removal. The problem that we face is that the cupboard is bare. In other words, they didn't have a choice but to remove it because there's no more money. So I'm not sure people fully understand that. I'm not supporting what happened. I'm just saying that's the reality.
On Facebook, Omotai Oluwarotimi on Obamiru says the real problem is not that the subsidy has been removed. The real problem has to do with the situation where we neither produce much nor manufacture many things. in this country. Okay, thank you very much for that one. Also goes on to say our scientists, engineers, our scientists, engineers, and technicians have to set the country on the path of technical development. We have all these continuing and perennial problems only because we do not have any technology as a foundation of our economy.
All right. Ogedira Babatunde says NLC and TUC should support this government and ensure that the workers do the needful. Reversing back to old price is not feasible. Let us live with it. When subsidy was removed on diesel, aviation fuel, cooking gas, heaven did not fall. Now that petrol is affected, we are already adjusting. Life goes on. Prof, do you think we're already adjusting?
I don't think so at all. Somebody has just said that the number of people on the express, they can't get to their offices. I've heard tales of woe. Some people say there's suffering, you understand, sorrow, tears, and whatever to accompany. I don't think people are adjusting. And I think the repercussions are going to be more than diesel and cooking, because this is the lifeblood of the economy. Right. You need transport to get to wherever you're going.
Okay, Babatunde continues here and says soon our hospitals, institutions will be better because subsidy fund will be diverted to better these facilities. Let us be hopeful. That's another thing that from the trail of social media comments that I saw yesterday, people are saying it's going to be better. The funds will be diverted to the hospitals. Things are going to get better. Do you think that we're just projecting? Because at the end of the day, is this really going to happen?
Well, for any sensible, reasonable government, that's what should happen. In reality, is it going to happen? I think the question is out there for the jury. The jury is out there, rather. We hope it happens because it means that we will, a lot of the subsidy actually is not really Nigerians that have been benefiting. It is people in the near abroad, you understand. In other words, subsidy on a different level has been a monumental scam. So some of this money, of course, recouped, should go into infrastructure, should go into hospitals, education, to make our lives just a little bit better.
All right, we have to go now. Before we go, I'll take this message from Balkis on audio. Nigerians have purchased petrol for 500 naira, 650 naira, and more during the Buhari government, even though we're paying subsidies. So let's not panic if they are eliminated. Let's face it, fuel subsidies are bad for the Nigerian economy, but the president ought to take steps to mitigate their consequences. Additionally, as most of Nigeria's money is invested in government, the cost of governance should be reduced. Thank you very much, Professor Oluwajedeku, for your time. I do appreciate you. My name is Kenny Durutilu.
And my name is DENIKE. Adimwagun. The Smart Kids Show comes up next.